I wanted to ask you about Andrew Wylie. You got to replace both starting guards from last year's Super Bowl team, but how much more comfort do you have in a guy that's been in your system for a couple of years now?
I've been a big fan of Andrews since he got here. The guy shows versatility, toughness, and he's gotten better every year that he's been here. So we've got him working in there at guard. He's off to a good start, along with some other guys. But yeah, he's now a couple years into our system. He's played a lot of ball for us, so I feel like he's picking up the finer points. But he's off and running and off to a great start.
Let's go to Pete Sweeney. Go ahead, Pete.
Hey, Andy, thanks for taking some time. I was curious with some of the offseason acquisitions like Remmers and Osimile. It seems like you guys almost made a theme to go after these a little bit more denser, powerful offensive linemen. And I wonder if that point of emphasis was intentional or was it just a matter of these guys just being the most talented offensive linemen out there?
Yeah, well, Brett Veach and his staff, of course, always do a great job of bringing us quality football players, guys that are going to be competitive. And the thing I love about these two guys is, yeah, they're experienced. They've played a lot of good football, and both of them love football. I think if you said, well, what's the theme here? It's that we're collecting guys that love to play football.
Let's go to Seren Petro. Go ahead, Seren.
Coach, can you give us a update on Eric Fisher, where he is, and then what we're looking at as far as depth, your flexibility maybe with those tackles, and who all would be in that list of guys back behind him if we get to the season and you have problems?
Right. Yeah. Rick's working with Fish. We'll get him back whenever he's ready, and whenever that is, he's working there at the left tackle spot. We've got some young guys working at the tackle spot. And Greg Sinat and Jackson Barton, but we also have other guys that have positional flexibility. That's something I really like to train into, guys, whether they're playing guard or tackle. We're just looking for the best 5, best 7, the guys who are going to make this roster.
Let's go to Nate Taylor. Go ahead, Nate.
Hey, Andy. Good to see you. I have 2 questions for you. So much of offensive lineman is about chemistry and understanding timing and just having reps with one another. When you look at Osimile and Mitchell Schwartz being able to be together, just what have you noticed about those two so far? And the understanding of, it's unfortunate what happened with Eric, but to see Mike Remmers at the left tackle position to kind of give you an idea of where he needs to work on, just what have you seen from that progress so far?
I think you're right. Definitely you need to build chemistry and trust between O-linemen. I view it maybe a little differently than some, because I feel like, hey, we're all in this rowboat together. We're all, pulling in one direction. We got to get to know every guy in that room, whether I'm playing left guard, right tackle. It doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to be combination blocking with somebody. I need to get to know all these guys. And so I really believe in building versatility and not making a big deal out of that. We have a good group of guys that love to play ball together. Don't flinch when you say, hey, go work over here, go work over there, next man up. That's what I love about this group.
Let's go to Harold Kuntz. Go ahead, Harold.
Hey, Andy, 2 quick questions. I'm just curious. I know you mentioned Osimile earlier, but just go more into how impressed you have been and how he's been able to mesh in with the offensive line throughout his time here. And then also just curious how your son's doing down in Houston and what the conversation has been like with him.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about Charlie. First on Kalechi, I've been very impressed. I mean, here's a guy, I've been a big fan of his, just watching him play, very physical football player. As I mentioned earlier, he's a guy who loves the game. I mean, it's obvious to everyone who watches him. That's infectious, and that's great for our group. He's fitting in terrifically. And then he's off to a good start there in Houston. So, I asked him, maybe give me one play you wanted to have over again. So I just do a little bit of coaching there, but he's got great coaches down there. Looking forward to competing against him. My wife's going to be a little bit nervous, but I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it looks like we got one more question, Coach. Let's go to Herbie to close us out. Go ahead, Herbie.
Hey, Coach, always a pleasure to see you. You mentioned Osimile and Andrew Wylie, and today y'all had practice where you were able to tackle to the ground. Well, not necessarily the offense, but the defense was able to finally tackle to the ground. I'm curious from where your vantage point, how they did with the physicality of knowing that the defense is coming at them full bore.
Yeah, well, every time we turn on that tape, and in fact, we're in the process of evaluating that right now. Those are things we're looking at. And, you know, first impressions, just like always early on in training camp, hey, we've got to get pad level down. We got to get ready. We're going to be, you know, playing for real here in a minute. So that's always a work in progress. We're going to look at that thing and definitely evaluate it. And guys are going to see, oh, geez, man, I thought that felt better than it looked. And usually it's a pad level thing early on in camp.
Coach Heck, we appreciate the time today. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Yep.